What happened in a courtroom that gave the judge a belly laugh you will never forget? So I'm standing in this tiny courthouse downtown, trying not to sweat through my only button-up shirt. My downstairs neighbor is suing me for emotional distress because my pet monitor lizard Meatball is apparently terrorizing their family. Yeah, you heard that right. A lizard named Meatball. This whole mess started because I got Meatball after my divorce last year. I was living alone, feeling pretty crappy about everything, and my therapist suggested an emotional support animal. Most people get dogs or cats. I went to this reptile expo and saw this massive monitor lizard just chilling in his tank, blinking super slowly at everyone walking by. The guy said his name was Meatball, and he was 3 feet long and growing. Something about him just seemed chill, you know? Like he understood that life sucks sometimes. So I brought Meatball home to my apartment. Got him this huge tank by the window where he likes to sunbathe. I even bought him a tiny sweater from this lady on Etsy because winter was coming and I thought it was funny. Started taking him to the park on weekends with this special lizard leash. People would stare, but Meatball didn't care. He'd just move super slow and blink at everything. The problem started when my neighbor's 8-year-old daughter saw Meatball sitting in the window. She screamed bloody murder and ran to her parents saying there was a monster next door. Instead of explaining that monitor lizards are harmless, they decided Meatball was some kind of threat. They started complaining to the landlord. Then they called animal control twice. When that didn't work, they hired a lawyer and sued me for $15,000 in emotional distress. Their lawyer was this overdressed guy who kept adjusting his tie and talking about psychological trauma. During the hearing, they presented their evidence. It was screenshots from my Instagram page showing Meatball in different costumes. There was Lizard DiCaprio, where I put these tiny sunglasses on him. Meatball Musk with a little business suit. Judge Judy's cousin with a tiny black robe. But my personal favorite was Clint Eastwood week, where Meatball wore this miniature cowboy hat I found at a toy store. The neighbor's dad actually took the stand and started crying. Real tears. He said his daughter couldn't walk through their living room anymore without checking the window first. That she was having nightmares about giant lizards. The mom was nodding along, dabbing her eyes with tissues. Their lawyer kept showing photos of Meatball just sitting there being a lizard, like literally doing nothing but existing. They called it stalking behavior and malicious intent. He couldn't believe this was actually happening. When it was my turn, I didn't have a fancy lawyer, couldn't afford one after the divorce, so I just walked up to my bag and pulled out this laminated folder I'd put together the night before. Inside were all of Meatball's official papers, his emotional support animal certification from my doctor, his vet records showing he was healthy and up to date on everything, and yeah, printouts of his Instagram page because I was proud of my little guy. The judge started flipping through everything slowly. He got to the costume photos and his expression changed. You could see him trying not to smile. He looked at the Clint Eastwood photo for like 10 seconds. Then he looked up at me and said, "Mr. Grayson, is your lizard currently wearing a cowboy hat?" I nodded and said, "Yes, Your Honor. It's Meatball's Clint Eastwood week." The entire courtroom just lost it. The bailiff started laughing so hard he had to turn around. The court reporter was giggling behind her little machine. Even the neighbor's lawyer cracked a smile before catching himself. But the judge laughed the hardest. This deep belly laugh that echoed through the whole room. He had to take off his glasses and wipe his eyes. After he collected himself, he looked at the neighbor's family and said, "I'm sorry, but I fail to see how a lizard in cowboy attire constitutes a threat." Then he turned back to me. "Mr. Grayson, based on the evidence presented, your lizard appears to be properly licensed, well cared for, and quite possibly the most fashionable reptile I've encountered in my courtroom." He dismissed the case immediately and said, "You and Meatball are free to return to the Wild West, or at least your apartment."